Thank you, esteemed guests. May the light of the inaugural lamp be the harbinger of enlightenment for all of us. May I invite Professor Debashish Chatterjee, the Chair of GIT 2020 and the Director at IIM Kozhikode, to address this gathering.
Happiness is just being here. The magic and stillness of a Thursday afternoon becomes even more magical with the Guru of Joy with us. Can you please welcome him in the way we can? Keeping us company is Dr. Vinay Sahasrabudhe, scholar, author, political analyst, ambassador of Indian culture, and the president of ICCR. Mr. Prabhu Chawla, who will join us very soon, journalist, unfading face of Aaj Tak. He's not here, we're not seeing his face as yet, but we will. Mr. Arun Maira, thinker, author, former chairman, BCG, India and Planning Commission member. Professor Shyam Sundar, iconic professor of economics and accounting, all the way from Yale University. Please give him a big hand. Our guests from wherever in the world that you've arrived here, my faculty colleagues, administrators, members of the media, and our very own students, on behalf of my conference co-chairs, Professor Deepa Sethi and Professor Suryapati, I welcome you to God's own campus. Here, God is simply another name for excellence. Even as we pursue excellence through purity of perception and clarity of mind, the divine seems to be with us today. GIT 2020 is IMK's signature convention. This is also our institutional mission, our design principle, and the basis of our aspiration to be counted among the world's best schools. The very idea of globalizing Indian thought began with a question in my mind about 25 years ago. So what is Indian about Indian institutes of management? This was a rhetorical question, and the answer was obvious: precious little. What was once a question has now become our institutional quest. IIM Kozhikode has, in a modest way, advanced India's global footprints. Our vision for 2047, the centenary of Indian independence, and the golden jubilee of IMK. We see ourselves through the eyes of a school-going student of today. It is today's school kid who would be at the helm of affairs in 2047. For them, we have created the Indian Business Museum. The museum is a repository of knowledge about Indian business heritage that would broaden the discourse in Indian business, introducing historical depth and a sense of rootedness in Indian culture. Globalizing Indian thought is about creating a confident and secure identity as Indians to strengthen our roots and give wings to our new generations. We have created a live center for incubating and nurturing startups and to unleash the entrepreneurial spirit of our students. If you go around the campus, you will find that our students' hostels are named after ragas in Indian classical music. To imposing statues of Indian heroes, Arjuna, an icon of action, and Vivekananda, an icon of discernment or discretion or viveka. Action and reflection, Raja and Rishi, are the software and the hardware of leadership as India saw it. These two dimensions are complementary capacities that define human progress. Without Krishna, there is no Arjuna. Without Aristotle, there is no Alexander. Without Chanakya, there is no Chandragupta. Without Sri Sri, probably there is no victory. The idea of India is far easier to deny or defy than to describe. In the past, we have been defined by the West more than we have defined ourselves. India is an extraordinary synthesis of the profound and the profane, the divine coexisting with the bovine. Modernity rubbing shoulders with mystery, India is not a succession of hierarchies, but rather a conjunction of polar opposite ideas, a sweet synthesis where our many contradictions dissolve. Even at the height of material prosperity, our greatest power has been the power of assimilation, the power of compassion. We fought back the Greeks but assimilated their art forms in the Gandhara school of art. We adopted the idli from Indonesia, chili from South America, the papaya from the Portuguese, and those cashew nuts from the Brazilians. We got our colonial masters to include words such as Dadagiri, Acha, Bapu, and Surya Namaskar in the Oxford Dictionary. Paradoxically, yoga is a transcendental wellness principle and yet a $65 billion industry today. Our temples and places of salvation are also our places of transaction with gods and goddesses. They provide insurance for a safe life in exchange of a few coins dropped inside a donation box. Our greatest pathfinders and social reformers are our gurus. They are also our largest global brands. I hope this conference goes beyond well-known indigenous signature practices of Indian management such as Jugaad, Langar, frugal engineering, Kudumba and Dabbawalas. We are here to discover, to decode, and to deliberate on a few big ideas that will help shape India's story on the world stage. One big idea is that India will have to find her own trajectory towards global impact. Long-time champion of global leadership, the USA, has exercised geopolitical power. The source of China's power has been geoeconomic leadership. India has probably discovered the third way of georelational leadership of the world. Both the US and China has had problems with their GPS system, G for guilt, P for pride, S for shame, as their policies are based on extraction and dominance. India, the land of Gandhi and Buddha, has taken the developmental and a more compassionate route. India's budget for cultural developmental diplomacy with partner nations in Asia and Africa has now crossed $1 billion. Mr. Sarshabudhe will be able to shed more light on that. India has not sought to dominate, but to co-develop equitably. India's core ethos has been Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the universe of borderless humanism. Unlike the US and China, India's sadhana has not just been to be the best in the world, but perhaps to be the best for the world. We live in a more equal era of digital connections. Today's world is more networked than ever before. India's mantra of borderless humanism will have a far-reaching impact in India's rise as a global force. From our old obsession with non-alignment, India has moved to multi-alignment. A culture of genuine multilateralism is reflective of India's spirit of harmony and tolerance. Second, India's globally powerful neighbor, China, has recently and largely been an engineering nation, a problem-solving country based on convergence. Despite all its challenges, India has been a problem-postponing democracy. We have to understand China's success and learn critical lessons from them, even as India can still teach China some of her civilizational secrets. There has been a recent shift in our inertia to solve our long-held problems of poverty, inequity, injustice. China has been a lot about artha, wealth, as India has been about dharma. Yet, how do you protect your dharma without artha or wealth? The overreaching principle that once integrated India's institutions is often described by this word dharma. There are people more qualified than me to interpret this word. My notion of dharma goes well beyond what the British and the Europeans described as rule of law. Rule of law is based on the authority and influence of law in society that imposes constraints on individuals and institutional behavior. Rule of law is about publicly disclosed legal codes and processes. Dharma, on the other hand, is the holding principle that encompasses the whole of nature, including human nature. Dharma is much more nuanced and yet paradoxically more unambiguous than the rule of law. Those in authority can easily subvert legal codes and processes, but it is difficult to subvert dharma that has an all-encompassing existential as well as behavioral and moral connotations. Our research is telling us India will do well to hark back to its Sanatan Dharma that rests on three pillars: Satyam, authenticity; Nityam, sustainability; and Purnam, wholeness. Finally, our sheer size, roughly 1/6 of humanity, makes it clear that whatever we do together as a nation becomes strategic for the whole world. If 1.3 billion Indians sneezed at the same time, some of the tallest structures in the Middle East and Europe would get blown away. Tagore India's poet sage realized it long back. Tagore said, if India can find solution to our own problems, it will be a solution for the entire humanity. Luckily, in a world of competing modernity and fractured identities, India still holds its own. United Europe is a failed experiment. United India still lives on. At no point in history has 1/6 of humanity cohesively formed a single political entity despite every disruptive force that acted on it for thousands of years. Civilization takes birth, flourish, and fade away. One philosophy succeeds another. The railroad replaces the horse and the airplane replaces the railroads. The bow becomes a rifle and then the bomb. Silicon chips displace carbon brains. But something about our Bharat remains the same. The wisdom of the timeless that time cannot even dare to touch. Our existence in truth and love cannot be obliterated. Listen to Iqbal's immortal lines. कुछ बात है कि हस्ती मिटती नहीं हमारी. Our moment as the world's first colonial power has now come. We have enough quality managers, engineers, and doctors. We need a few more dreamers. The global Indian dream is finally in place. But where indeed have the dreamers gone? Namaste.
Thank you, sir. Your words reflected the true essence behind the conclave, and your vision on the globalization of Indian thought gives us the direction we need to transfigure worldview in today's context. Now, let us have a glimpse into the mesmerizing life at IIM Kozhikode through a short film. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely privileged and honored to have our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, digitally inaugurate this conference. May I now request Professor Debashish Chatterjee to welcome our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji.
अभी देखो 1 2 3 1 2 3
Honorable Prime Minister, thank you. We are humbled and honored and grateful that you chose to speak on this red letter day of IIM Kozhikode. Distinguished audience, on your screen is the man who has given India the mantras of Swachh Bharat, Swasth Bharat and Sashakt Bharat. Clean, healthy and powerful India. He's given us the $5 trillion economy dream. He has set radical new agenda and challenged the settled narrative of Chalta Hai Bharat. An Indian modernizer, his tenure will be remembered as an inflection point in Indian history. You do not become a global power just by accident. It takes leadership and decisive action. This is a Prime Minister who has instilled in our hearts the love and aspiration for India. A man from a modest and humble beginning, he has left his indelible mark on the global stage. Ladies and gentlemen, it would be unwise on my part to speak any more about someone who literally needs no introduction anywhere in the world today. So here is Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Damodar Das Modi delivering the inaugural speech for GIT 2020. Welcome, sir.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Namaskar. Friends, I am delighted to address a conference on globalizing Indian thought at a prestigious center of learning like the IIM Kozhikode. It is a matter of joy that such well-known centers of learning are taking interest in these subjects. It is no coincidence that we talking about globalizing Indian thought at a time when a life-size statue of Swami Vivekananda finds a special place on this campus. Who can forget the contribution of Swami Vivekananda in globalizing Indian thought? Years ago, on 11 September 1893, Swami Vivekananda gave a glimpse of India's ethos during his iconic speech in Chicago. As we all know, the moment he began his speech with sisters and brothers of America, there were loud claps. The magic was not in the words. What was on display was India's conviction and commitment to universal brotherhood. Friends, Indian thought is vibrant and diverse. It is constant and evolving. It is too vast to be put in a lecture or a seminar or even a book. But broadly, there are certain ideas that have remained central to Indian values. They are compassion, harmony, justice, service, and openness. Friends, let me talk about what draws the world to India. First and foremost, what comes to the mind is the values of peace, unity, and brotherhood. So many states, so many languages, so many dialects, so many faiths, so many customs and traditions, so many food habits, so many lifestyles, so many ways of dressing. Yet, for centuries, we have lived in peace. For centuries, we have welcomed the world to our land. Our civilization has prospered when many could not. Why? Because one finds peace and harmony here. Friends, it has also been our strength that our thoughts have become living traditions guided by simplified and relatable practices. These practices are neither rigid nor of dimensional. The beauty is in the fact that they can be practiced differently. Friends, ours is the land that has given the world vibrant faiths such as Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism. In this land, the Sufi tradition has flourished. Non-violence is at the core of all of these. In the 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi championed these ideals and this contributed to India's freedom. At the same time, they gave strength to millions outside. Be it Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Nelson Mandela or the freedom struggles in many African nations, they took inspirations from Gandhiji. Several Indian soldiers lost their lives in both world wars. They fought bravely, even though India had no stake in these wars. We never wanted anyone's land or resources, but our soldiers fought for peace. For decades, India remains one of the biggest contributors to United Nations peacekeeping operations globally. If some of the most conflict-prone zones could breathe the air of peace, our soldiers have a role to play in that. In a world seeking to break free from mindless hate, violence, conflict, and terrorism, the Indian way of life offers rays of hope. The Indian way of conflict avoidance is not by brute force, but the power of dialogue. Friends, when I say India believes in a peace and harmony, this includes harmony with Mother Nature and our environment. The Vedas say, Yam rakshante swapna viswadani deva bhumihi prithvim prasadam. Mother Earth, where saints meditate, has been called the giver of everything on whom all life forms depend. Our tradition considers the earth as our mother. Divinity in India is associated with many animals. Kautilya has written widely about protecting flora and fauna. We see traces of the spirit in many of the efforts being undertaken today. India had taken the lead in forming the International Solar Alliance to harness solar energy for a cleaner tomorrow. We are devoting efforts towards increasing usage of renewable energy. India's mass movement towards adopting LED bulbs has contributed to significant energy saving. 36 crore LED bulbs have been distributed. 1 crore street lights have been replaced by LED. This has led to cost saving to the tune of around rupees 25,000 crore. Over 4 core tons of carbon dioxide emissions have reduced. Energy saving is huge as well. Distinguished guests, India's tiger population had doubled since 2006. Today, India is home to almost 2,970 tigers. 3/4 of the global tiger population stays in India. We are one of the most secure tiger habitats. Back in 2010, the world had agreed to double tiger population by 2022. India achieved it way in advance. Similarly, the lion population in India has grown up by almost 30% from 2010 to 2015. Friends, India's forest cover is growing. The number of protected areas stood at 692 in 2014. This increased to more than 860 in 2019. There were 43 community reserves in 2014. Now there are over 100. These facts are drawing many environment and wildlife lovers to India. You have seen the Man vs. Wild program. It led to great interest in India. Friends, today, mindful living, health conscious eating, various types of fitness routines are becoming many of these health practices that are popular worldwide will find their roots in India. Centuries ago, sages from India practiced yoga and gave the world Ayurveda. Yoga is not only a set of exercise, it is much more than that. Yoga is a means to both fitness and wellness. It leads to fit body and healthy mind. The IIM community is one of the brightest but one of the most busy group of people. The excellent work prospect also bring with its stressful routines. I would urge them all to devote time to yoga. You will see the positive difference it brings. Friends, one of the most remarkable aspects of this land is the respect, importance, and dignity given to women. Nari to Narayani. Women are manifestation of divinity. The clarion call for women empowerment has been raised century after century by Indian thought leaders. Who can forget the Bhakti saints of India? Who can forget the role of great sons like Raja Ram Mohan Rai and Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar? Who can forget the efforts of Mahatma Phule and Savitribai Phule? Even while most Western countries took decades to giving voting rights to women, the makers of our constitution ensured women had voting right from the very first day. Today, more than 70% of Mudra loans beneficiaries are women. Women are making an active contribution to our armed forces. A group of women Navy officers went around the entire world by sea. That was historic. India has the highest number of women MPs today. Women turnout in the 2019 Lok Sabha polls was highest. Friends, India celebrates openness. Mahatma Gandhi put it perfectly when he said, I do not want my house to be walled in all sides and my windows to be stuffed. I want the culture of all lands to be blown about my house as freely as possible. But I refuse to be blown up by feet by any. Gandhiji showed it is possible to be proud of our own culture and yet be open to other cultures and stay in harmony with them. In this work, Bharat Tirtha, Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore wrote about India. All shall give and take, mingle and mingle in, none shall depart dejected from the shore of the sea of Bharat's vast humanity. Friends, where there is openness, respect for different opinions, innovation is natural. The innovative zeal of Indians is drawing the world to India. The idea of zero, born in our land, is perhaps the most universal and radical idea. It transforms the study of maths. We are a nation with a vibrant young population. Our demographic dividend makes us a magnet for investment. Everybody wants to be in India today. Our software industry 2 decades ago and our startup ecosystem today shows the power of India's youth. Friends, when we are talking about globalization and Indian thought, it is also important to discuss its application. It would make everyone proud that being rooted to Indian systems and traditions, India is surging ahead on the path of development. You can see it in the manner in which India has achieved remarkable financial inclusion, or how we have rolled out the world's largest healthcare program in the world, or how India has given crores of smoke-free kitchens to millions. Millions of homes have been made for the poorest of the poor. Look at our election process. Millions of voters vote peacefully. Polling booths are set up where there is even one voter in remote areas. No wonder India's position in the world order is rising. Friends, Indian thought has given a lot to the world and has potential to contribute even more. It has the potential to solve some of the most leading challenges our planet faces. We are taught from childhood, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu, Ma Kaschid Dudbhag Bhavet. May everyone be happy. May everyone be free from sickness. May everyone see goodness. Here, everyone does not only refer to India and Indians. It refers to the world. India believes that when India progresses, the world will progress. And when the world prospers, India will gain by it. I hope seminars such as this popularize more aspects of Indian thought among people. With this, I conclude my remarks and convey my best wishes to IIM Kozhikode. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Honorable Prime Minister, before I request you to unveil the digital statue of Swami Vivekananda, I want to quote the original Bengali version from Tagore that you translated for us. Dibe ar nibe milabe milibe jabe na phire ei bharater mahamanave sagar tire. This is what he translated in his inimitable way. So may I request the Honorable Prime Minister to do the honors for digital unveiling of the statue of Swami Vivekananda in our campus and dedicate this to our nation. Can we have this, please? Yes. Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Can we just rise to the occasion a little bit, please? Thank you.
Check, low, low. Low, check. Check, low, check. Low, check. Low, check.
May I now request our esteemed dignitaries, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji, Dr. Vinay Sahasrabuddhe, and Dr. Debashish Chatterjee to proceed to the dais and occupy their seats. May I now request Professor Deepa Sethi, co-chair of GIT 2020, to introduce our eminent keynote speaker, Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji.
Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji is a humanitarian leader, spiritual teacher, and ambassador of peace. His vision of a stress-free, violence-free society has united millions of people the world ever through projects and the sources of the art of living. Gurudev holds degrees in both Vedic literature and physics. Founded in 1981, the Art of Living Foundation has centers in more than 156 countries. It offers several stress elimination and self-development programs based on breathing.
Publicly condemned from the bottom of his heart the act of the ISIS against the Yazidis minority.
And yoga. In 1997, he also founded the International Association for Human Values to coordinate sustainable development projects, nurture human values, and coordinate conflict resolution in association with the art of living. Gurudev has been honored by a number of awards: the Padma Vibhushan, India's second highest civilian award in 2016, Peru's highest award, Grand Officer, Colombia's highest civilian award, to name a few. Famous books written by Gurudev Sri Sri Ravi Shankarji include God Loves Fun, Buddha, the Manifestation of Silence, Wisdom for the New Millennium. Gurudev's words that I personally resonate with are, and I quote, "Human evolution has two steps, from being somebody to being nobody, and from being nobody to being everybody. This knowledge can bring sharing and caring throughout the world," unquote. Let's get a glimpse of the life of Gurudev.
Spiritual leader Sri Sri Ravi Shankar is touring Europe, meeting political leaders and promoting
worldwide spiritual leader says just follow the ways of Mahatma Gandhi. Take on hatred and killing through meditation, love, and understanding.
Art of Living, a course designed to teach people how to breathe.
More people are searching harder for inner peace these days. Would you agree?
Correct.
Ojalá podamos los colombianos abrazar pronto el principio gandiano de la no violencia. Coincidimos con el maestro Shankar.
Is historic. This is the first spiritual leader in the entire world publicly condemned from the bottom of his heart the act of the ISIS against the Yazidis minority.
from a broader perspective. See, life is so short. Another 50 years maximum, we won't be on this planet. We will all be gone. Before we leave this planet, we want to leave a better society behind us. For those beautiful kids in whose eyes there are hope, in whose eyes you find dreams, they deserve a violence-free society, and it is our duty to give them a better world. People, and we will not stop till the last gun is laid down. Peace is only possible individuals, unless we find the inner peace among the individuals. World peace will remain a far-fetched dream. One who finds inner peace will only feel peace around. It's pertinent that we recognize the inner peace of individual as a basic element to build unbroken families, harmonious society, prosperous nations, and a peaceful world.
Did you and those here in the audience hello? Hello? This is what
in the world. We feel there is much more that we need to do. In this country, from ancient times, we said, let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. Anu Badra Kratamu. Let noble thoughts come to us from all sides. What is thought? That's something that your consciousness attaches when it perceives something outside. Forms are all outside, the names are inside. The world is full of names and forms. An object outside is perceived by your consciousness and it tags a name for it. Suppose there is an apple and your mind puts a tag. As soon as it sees the apple, it says apple. Someone who doesn't know English, the name is different. It says save. So the names are in the consciousness. Forms are outside. And the connection between the name and form is what understanding is all about. You see something and you attach certain names, certain words to it through your perception. The ancient people here in this country knew this mechanism of knowing. He said, the object of knowing, the process of knowing, and the knower. The knower has inside him embedded with the names, and the forms are on the object, and the process of knowing is what the perception is all about. And if a thought is stagnant in the mind and it goes on and on and on, you know what it is? What it is called? Worry. It is connected with certain emotions of insecurity, fear. The same thought that goes on and on in your mind creates many more endocrine imbalances in our own system, and it causes health issues. Worry is such a thought which is stagnant, and a thought which is held by some previous concepts is prejudice. You have some concept in the mind and you see everything through that. This is biased mind. Our ancient people knew this. They said Nyaya Shastra of the 6 darshanas, the philosophy, 6 schools of philosophy. Nyaya Darshana is your mode of perception correct or not? Whatever you perceived, is it correct? You see the sun setting, is the sun really setting or not? The perception that we have from the 5 senses and the perception we have from a 6th sense, that is the mind, the intellect, and then there is one more, the gut feeling, the inner intuitive sense that you get, that is the atmic sense. So these are the different modes of knowing, modes of attesting and finding out what you know is correct or not. Authenticating what you know is a very, very important issue that this country is doing. Now, what is the relevance of it for today's scenario? I would say, first of all, we must own our roots. We should know our roots and honor the roots. But then we have to be very progressive in our approach and very open-minded. Only in an open mind new thoughts, new ideas can come. Otherwise we will glorify our past, but we won't be able to be more creative for the future. But for a creative outlook, a progressive outlook, we need to have strong roots. At the same time, be open to ideas. Now, how would a new idea come to our minds? That comes when we go to the source of thought, which is silence. Few moments of deep silence can rekindle the creative impulse that is present in every individual. If something that is obstructing our creative intelligence, our creative impulse, that is stress, that is tension, that is, lack of confidence in our abilities. Now I'd like to ask you, how many of you know that the names of the months are in Sanskrit? Do you know that? November, December, January, these are all in Sanskrit? How many of you don't know? Raise your hand. Do you know the names of the month in English that we are using today? They are all in Sanskrit. That is a Sanskrit word. For example, September does not mean anything in any other language, but it means something in Sanskrit. Sapt Ambar. Ambar, you know what Ambar means? Sky. Seventh sky is Sapt Ambar. October, Ashtambar. October. Nav Ambar, ninth sky. Dash Ambar, 10th sky. You know how February came to know as February? Falgun. You have heard the word Falgun? What is the last month of Indian calendar? Falgun. Falgun means February, the fag end. What we say, the fag end, the end. March is the spring. That's when the sun moves in the first phase of Aries, end of March, and the new year starts. March, April, that's when the new year begins. So the names of the month that world over people are saying, September, October, November, December, all that, this is all in Sanskrit. But we have not owned this as an Indian contribution to the world. Similarly, zero, we have not owned. We have not owned our mathematics. We have not owned our, astronomy, astrology. We have not owned our yoga. Today, yoga is being practiced by more than 2 billion people on this planet. 2 billion people. But if we do not recognize our roots and own these thoughts as as being originated in India, in few generations people will forget even yoga as though it has come from India or not. So owning what we already have contributed gives you more confidence to move forward and be more innovative. For innovation, as I said, we need to have clear mind, focused mind. And the focus and clarity in mind can come when we are free from stress, when our mind is totally in the present moment. As I am speaking, do you notice what is happening in your mind right now? Your mind is also saying yes or no. We are having dialogue actually. This is not, there is never a monologue. As when you are speaking to somebody, maybe they are not speaking from their, through words, but in their mind there is dialogue going on. Our perceptual abilities have to increase. Sharpness of focus had to come. With the technology that we have today, we cannot afford to have more ADA, attention deficiency syndromes among our children, our students. Nothing wrong with technology, but how we use the technology. We forget we have a machine here. This brain, our consciousness is such a supercomputer. If we don't attend to our self, our wellness, wellness is a very superficial word, I would say. You have to be aware of the faculties that are within you, which enable you to do many more things. The intuitive ability is basic to innovation, and we do very little to tap the intuitive ability. In this country, The ancient people would say, you get up in the morning, sit, have a blank mind. And then, what should be your wish? Dhiyo yona prachodayat. Let my intellect be sharp. Let my intellect be inspired. An inspired intellect is the basis of creativity, the basis of peace, the basis of progress and prosperity in the world. So our intellect needs to be inspired. It cannot be inspired, it cannot be vibrant if we are worried, if we are tense, if we have prejudice, if we are all different types of concept, we get stuck into the concepts. Globalizing Indian thought is really going the scientific way. In this country, we never said you believe and just go, whatever you believe, then you do like that. No. We said, even in Gita, it is said, you think about it. You let your intellect work on it. Once, if it accepts, only then you accept it. Do vimarsha. Arjuna, when all this was said by Krishna, then Krishna says, I have said what I need to say, now you vimarsha again. You think about this. And then if it appeals to you, you accept it. Promoting intellectual freedom is what exactly is in. Not just human beings, but also with animal kingdom is Indian thought. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, seeing the entire globe as one human family is Indian thought. Don't you think it is most needed today? Especially in the war zones, people are fighting for nothing. From an Indian perspective, you see, it looks very silly. Wars are being fought like games today, and games are being fought like wars. This is the unfortunate thing that's happening in the world. So we need to reverse this, for that we need to globalize Indian thought. Democracy is not something which is born in some other continent. It was born here in this land. But we have not owned democracy. Doesn't matter if we don't own one or two concepts. You may say we own the whole world. But owning the world means also dissipating our thought, our ideas globally. So democracy is born here. And freedom to think, freedom to form. See, so many faiths have born in this country. In the world, roughly you can say there are about 10 major faiths in the world, of which 6 are born in India. There has never been, India and Far East, I would have to include the Far East also, Japan, these countries as well. There has never been a conflict among these 6 faiths. Because basically from India we said, there is freedom of concepts, freedom of worship. Even atheists were honored here. Charvak is also a darshan. Charvak darshan is also a darshan which was studied in all the mutts from ancient times. That shows that your faith is not shaken by diversity. By studying others' faith, you don't have to shy or feel fear that you will lose your grounds. This is Indian thought. Giving the confidence in your perception and willingness to change it if it is proved to be wrong. You have perceived something and you are certain about what you have perceived, and this is what science is all about. Science is the ability to accept other viewpoints and see whether that fits with you or which wins, what you know or what you have come to know newly. See, our logic is depending on our knowledge, right? Our logic, our reasoning is always dependent on what you already know. And what you know is limited. So your logic is also limited. So there is something beyond the logic and beyond what you know. If you accept what you know is limited, then you are talking about what Tagore has said. The mind which welcomes new ideas. That can come when you know that your knowledge is limited. And knowledge is in our consciousness, and every day our consciousness is developing. As our consciousness develops, our knowledge also develops. If we are adamant, if we just hold on to one thing and they're not ready to see beyond that, you cannot be a scientist and you cannot be a progressive individual. So in this country, we have developed such a free thinking, and this is what I would say is globalizing Indian thought, is giving that freedom, a freedom for thinking. Now, how many types of thoughts are there? Have you thought about it? Huh? How many types of thoughts are there? And when do they come? Thoughts come only in the waking state. Our life can be divided into 3 states. Our ancient people said it's Tripura, the 3 cities that you live in. You have heard the word Tripura? Tripura is a state in the northeast India. And most of us don't even go there. It's the most beautiful state actually. Tripura is the 3 states we all live in. What? Waking, dreaming, and deep sleep. Huh? Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. The waking state, dreaming state, and deep sleep. Now, in dreams you get very few thoughts, which is only a repetition of what you already know. But new perception is nearly not possible. I would say nearly. Sometimes you do. That I will tell you how we get that now. And deep sleep, no knowledge is possible, no thought comes there. And when do the thoughts really come? This 1/3 of the time of our life, the waking state of consciousness, that is when you perceive and you get the thoughts. And there are 5 types of dream. Do you know about that? We have some time. So there are 5 types of dream. If you can understand, but Maharshi Patanjali says, if you can understand your sleep and dream, you will be enlightened. It's as simple as that, but as complicated as that. What is that 5 types of dream you have? The first type of dream is your latent desires. They come to you as dreams. You know, we have advanced so far in psychology, but unfortunately, it is not globalized. It's not globalized, I tell you. So, the first type of dream is that which comes to you as fulfillment of a desire. Suppose you wanted to drink a cup of water and you didn't, you just went to sleep, in the sleep you will find yourself drinking that cup of water. How many of you had this experience? So certain desires in your mind, they get released, they get fulfilled in the dream. This is one type of dream. Second type of dream is your experiences, past experiences. You went to Kashmir, you went to Goa, you went somewhere else, and those things come into your dream. Your experiences, strong experiences in your consciousness, they get released as a second type of dream. The third type of dream is your fears and anxieties. You have some fear, you have some anxiety, those things come to you as a dream. And the fourth type of dream is a premonition dream. The third type also includes, it's nothing to do with you, it's to do with the place you sleep in. Suppose you go from here and sleep in a hotel in Odisha, you start hearing Oriya languages in your dream. Have any one of you experienced such things? Suppose you go to Paris and you stay in a hotel there, you don't understand, but you hear or see people with that. This is another type of dream. It's nothing to do with you, but to do with the environment, the energy in that space. And then the fourth type of dream is intuitive dream. A premonition. You get the dream, something is going to happen tomorrow, you get that in your dream, in your consciousness. And the fifth type of dream, which is 90% of it, is a mixture of all this. It's like in Kerala, I would say, it's like avian. Put all vegetables together, everything together. So, most of the dream is that type of dream that we get. We cannot act on it, we cannot make anything out of it. You are sitting in the train, suddenly the train has become a boat, and boat has suddenly is going on the road. It has no coherence, no connection, no message or no sense to it. That type of dream is most of the dreams are. But the premonition dream, what might happen tomorrow, or an innovative idea, a poem that comes to you in a dream, is a rare dream that can come to you, that can happen to you. When your consciousness is vibrant. And how our mind can be vibrant? When it is free from stress, it lives in the present moment. If you look at the mind, it's vacillating. Either we are angry about the past or anxious about the future. In this swing of anger and anxiety, we lose tremendous energy. You may do one experiment. Suppose you sit for half an hour and just talk only negative. See what happens to you. You will feel exhausted. The amygdala part of your brain is shrinking. The hippocampus of brain is getting lesions. The more negative words you hear, the more negative conversation you engage yourself with. And then it slowly percolates to your whole system. Then it affects your sleep, it affects your perception, it affects your interaction with people, it affects your behavior, and it keeps a burning question inside of you. An unanswered question, why this to me? And that finally leads you to violence. This is genesis of violence. How violence begins? It doesn't begin like that. No human being on earth is born with violence. Violence is not our nature. We are led to it because of stress. Because you don't trust in anybody. A person who is fearful cannot trust anybody. The lack of trust. Again, this is the vibration. You know, we convey so much through our vibration than through our words. When you greet somebody, you don't have to tell them, oh, I'm very happy to meet you. If you are happy, that happy vibrations will convey to them. If you are angry, you don't have to make a face. You are keeping the anger inside of you, but when you interact with somebody, the vibes of anger will convey to them. This man is not, or this lady is not normal. So Indian thought is really attending to the source of thought, not floating on the surface, by diving deep from where the thought has come. I would like to share a small incident that had happened in the past century. In Rishikesh, near Rishikesh, there is a temple called, there is a place called Narendra Nagar. There is a palace there, and the king used to live there. And this Narendra Nagar palace used to host any sadhus, anybody who comes and, to have food there. They were served food in silver plate and silver lotus and all that. And a few sadhus used to come and eat and go. One day, one sadhu, after eating food, he took the silver pot in his bag and he went left. But then after 3 days later, he came and kept the pot back again. Now when the king came to know about this, then he started an inquiry into this. Why did this man, what made this saint who has been coming for so many years, steal, what did he eat? Then the minister said, find out what did he eat. What I am saying is, how food can have an impact on our thought was seen in this country long ago. Jains have done a lot of research on this. When someone talks nonsense, there is a colloquial word says, "Kya kha ke aaya?" What did you eat? What did your mother feed you? So they know that our behavior, our thoughts, our actions are all connected with thought. The Jains, they say, what type of food to eat so that, why Jains don't eat aloo, because it's under the ground, it will take you under. That's a concept. But they might have done some research also on that field. It's a subject which is open to research. I would say we must do research on any of the concepts only if we find it acceptable to us, we should accept, we should move on. And even science is progressing. Science is we cannot say, oh, science is the gospel truth. I mean, science is dynamic, it's changing. What we saw few decades ago and today, the same scientific beliefs and faiths have changed or broken down. They said butter is very bad for anyone who has heart problems, and you have seen a couple of years back, they reversed it and said, no, butter is good for you if you have heart problems. So this dynamism, what makes science truly a science, and this scientific temper is embedded in the Indian thought. We were never, Mudamati, Andamati, we have words for that. Mudamati means one who is completely blocked intellect. Mandamati, dull intellect. Yes, we have described different type of intellect and different type of thought processes also. So it's scientific temper, I would say, is Indian thought, and it is already globalized everywhere in the world. The scientists and research scholars adapt those methods which are being prescribed or which has been thought to be part of this land from centuries. So with these few words, I congratulate the organizers of this program and the faculties and Dean of Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, for bringing up this issue. Because our youths, when you go abroad, when you go around the world, we must know our roots and we must know what's our goal. That will, inspire more and more people around the world. Today, in conflict zones especially, what is needed is a confidence of sense of belongingness. We have to, and India can do that. India can give that. Can give that confidence of sense of belongingness. Confidence in Satyameva Jayate, the truth will always win. Confidence that there is still humanness. There is humanness in this planet, and we are all humans, and we need to promote these human values. We are not alone. Loneliness is one of the biggest crises today in the world. In UK, they have started a ministry for loneliness, because 18% of the population is suffering from loneliness. But the answer is here. Here is something that we can take on to keep them the uniting of mind and heart, the feeling and the thought. First of all, see, they are separate. I would say for business people, don't do business with your heart. Don't pour your heart into business. And don't live your life with your head. So in business, put your head, and in life, in interaction with people, you live with your heart. And both can be developed. In one meal, you can have soup and you can have kheer also. But you can't afford to mix them both. If you mix, you'll suffer in your business. Many times we think being human means being very emotionally something. We go so emotional and we forget the real business sense. That doesn't work. So the business sense is necessary, and you have to have that humanness, and you can develop both. It's easy to develop either one of them, but developing both needs some skill. As I said, in one meal you can have soup and you can have ice cream, but you cannot have both together. In this sense, it's a great thing that you have combined here the business ideas and thought, and also the ancient thought and culture and wisdom. I think this will take us a long way to the most cherished dream that we all have, to globalize our Indian thought. Thank you.
Thank you for enlightening us with your enriching presence and words, Gurudev. I request anyone to have, if they have any questions, to please stand up and ask your questions. We have time for about 2-3 questions. So anybody in the audience, please raise your hand if you have a question and we'll get the mic to you.
You can take this mic, I'll go there. Come.
Gurudev, thank you so
Yes.
much for enlightening thoughts. I have one quick question. me repeat the question one more time. Why do you think the ever-free Atman, the spirit, is born in an illusionary mind-body complex?
Why should it not be? When it has created its own game, why should it not play its own game?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gurudev. My question is, when we talk with friends from different religion, when we talk of friends from different religion, so how can we convince that faith is not shaken by diversity? So when we have to express our Hindu tradition or something, how we convince them in our informal talking that faith cannot be disturbed or shaken by diversity? And second is, source of thought is silence. Can you please elaborate on it a little more? Thank you.
Yes, what is a thought? Thought is an impulse of energy and intelligence. And the source of thought is our consciousness. That is, when you go to that, that is what is called samadhi. Few moments of nothing, there is no breath, nothing, no thought, total emptiness. From this empty space, thoughts come out. When your mind comes outward. When your mind goes inward, fewer thought, it gets out of the thought and it gets to the very source, which is nothing but pure energy, which is at the Atman. Eto vacho nivartante aprapya manasasa, from where the words retrieve and then the mind also goes back to that source. That is me, myself, is where we go. That is what meditation is all about. Now, if someone's faith is very strong, they don't need to be shaken by accepting different modes and different faiths that are there. That we have shown. India is an example. See, there are Jains, and Jains have understood Hinduism also. Hindus know Jains, same with Sikhs. But nobody feels threatened because, if you read Guru Granth Sahib, you don't become a Sikh, right? So if you are a Shaivite and you read some Vishnu slokas, you don't get threatened, right? In the same way, whether Bible, Quran or Zindavesta, any scripture in the world, they're all different flavors of wisdom. And an individual should know a little bit about all the wisdom in the world. Otherwise, the people grow up thinking only my way is the way to heaven and I have the key to the heaven and everybody else is going to hell. And so they really create hell for everybody else. Radicalization happens with this thought that only I know the truth, everybody else is wrong.
Gurudev, my question to you is, what is the main source of peace and happiness, and how do we sustain this in the long term?
Okay. You are peace. You are the source of peace. You are the source of happiness. If you learn to dive deep into yourself, couple of moments each day, nothing can shake your faith, your peace. Yeah?
Thank you.
Hello.
One last.
You have told us about 5 types of dreams. I have learned that there are three types of dreams. There is one dream is from God, the second dream is your subconscious mind, and the third dream comes from the evil side. So please reflect on that.
Now, I don't know about this evil side and all. I would say all dreams are made up of gods. Because our consciousness is of godliness or goodness. So, as I said, there are 5 types of dream. You can go deep into it, study this, you'll get more, many things will unravel.
Thank you for enlightening us with your enriching presence and words, Gurudev. May I request the director to present a memento to Gurudev.
Good.